Okay, here we go. Everyone, happy Wednesday. Um, Today's session is dedicated to something that I experience on a daily basis, and I'm smiling because there's a bit of a yeah, I can't help but sort of laugh at myself at times. So you've probably heard this metaphor before in terms of mindfulness and equanimity and so forth, which is mindfulness is like letting your thoughts float by like boats on a river. It's just like be peaceful, just let it all happen one boat at a time. Don't get wrapped up in it. And it's a beautiful ideal. But then in reality, like this is what my mind usually looks like, right? There's this like jam of boats and I can't get around and getting frustrated that there's, all these other boats in the way. And my guess is most of you can relate to this, right? So uh, there's a term for this in the world of spiritual healing and so on. It's called the spiritual bypass, and that's when we attach to some notion that feels spiritual to us. So this idea of like, oh, I'm just above it all. I'm not going to get sucked into the pettiness that is, whatever this argument is, or so we have this idea in mind, this ideal of this is how I should be, and then reality kind of sinks in, and you're sitting there going like, man, here I am, same old, petty Ollie, worried about this and getting all judgy and bent out of shape over that. And that's the truth is that's where the rubber meets the road, right? So that's our most of our days are filled with those kinds of things. And there's this constant tension between this idea that we have of who we tell ourselves we should be or ought to be, and then what actually transpires. And the antidote to that is not to get more judgy or bent out of shape over how we're failing or how we're not living up to our expectations, but it's ironically it's really about just trying to drop into the reality of what's happening in any given moment and just say, yeah, here it is now, now this. So it's this idea of sort of getting real with our daily reality and letting go of any notions of sort of highfalutins or spirituality. And there's a trap in there that we all are subject to. It happens. So I thought today let's spend some time touching into that part of ourselves that uh, that sets these lofty expectations and then sort of gets into trouble when we don't match up to it. So yeah, let's try it out. Let's see where it goes. So close your eyes and right from the get go, see if you can touch into how are things right now actually. So I know we get together at this time every day and we say, yeah, we're gonna practice something that is in some sense steeped in an ideal of positivity, how we want to be. So it's normal to have some sense of there's a bit of striving in there. It's like I'm leaning into something. I want to get better at this. We need that. And then let's just see if we can also make space for where we're actually at. Just feel into the body, noticing the feet, hands, belly. And see if what you find in this moment, in terms of how the body feels, there's some kind of a space between what's actually happening and a part of you that's saying, oh, but I should be more like this or less like that. I should be more relaxed, should be calmer, shouldn't be so worked up. And in my experience, the key is find a place where you're not fighting it, where you're just making space for, yeah, this is how it is right now. And it all starts with just slowing down enough to actually be able to take stock of what is in this moment. Just noticing sensations, emotions, thoughts, and ideas. I think one of the hardest things to do is to actually make space for difficult emotions or hectic thoughts. So we can do a little thought experiment here. So think back to a time maybe when you were interacting with someone, maybe there was a sort of a pattern that reemerged, frustrations, anger, annoyance. And there's two parts to this. The first one is just the raw experience of this is really pissing me off or it's upsetting me somehow. And then you'll likely find some other part of you that's saying, "Ah, I shouldn't be so upset. It's the same thing that always happens with this person or this situation. Should somehow be above it, should be more spiritual, more relaxed, more accepting." Well, maybe in that moment you're not. Just see if you can notice the space between those two realities, as it were. And the idea here is to become aware of the part of you that wants to layer on more judgments and say, oh, I shouldn't be so reactive. I shouldn't be so triggered. I've been practicing this for months and years, a lifetime. And here I am again, stuck in this place where I'm flustered or upset. And somewhere in there is a capacity to just shrug your shoulders and hopefully with a smile on your face and say, yep, and there it is again. And there's no amount of saying should, shouldn't, that's going to get you out of it. So the hard part here is just to learn how to just soften into it and say, yeah, this is what it feels like to be upset at somebody else, upset at a situation, upset about my lack of flow or grace. And ironically, when we can make space for that, everything softens. And you can, in some ways, sort of try to prepare yourself for the inevitable future situation in which something's not going to go the way that you want it to, where you tell yourself, I'm not going to react. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be gracious. So imagine yourself in that future space and see if you can mentally and emotionally prepare yourself for all of those reactions. Maybe set the intention to just say, when that happens, I'm going to be accepting of all of it, my judgments of myself, my judgments of the other person, the situation. And that's okay. It's called being human. Even though we can't prepare for every detail, we can shape with a kind of intentionality. We can shape our attitude towards those future events where we say, yeah, I know this is going to happen. I know I'm going to lose it. But the intention is to make space for it and allow it. Realize it's just part of the deal. Take a deep breath in. Long, slow out breath. Relaxing the neck, the shoulders, the hands. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And in, out. Exhaling all the way out of the chest and the belly. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes. Come on back. Today's one of those days where I feel like I could keep going for a while on this one. So you're welcome to obviously keep doing that. Um, yeah, hope that's a useful reminder. We can get really wrapped up in all of the spiritual highfalutincy, and I think it's good to sometimes just bring it back down to like we're just humans. So anyway, hope that was helpful. Appreciate you all. See you tomorrow.